Hello everyone, this is Abram from First Pick. We're talking a little bit today about your final NPAL monthly progress report or your year-end report. So, I'm going to walk you through the final report, which is your December monthly report. Those are the same thing. So even if you've completed programming in November, you must complete the December monthly report in the online reporting site. So when you click on that report, this of course is what it will look like. Looks very similar to your other monthly reports with a few key differences. There's some extra questions on here, which is why I'm going to provide this walkthrough to give you some guidance on how to answer those questions. You'll also receive some guidance documents that you can utilize as you complete your reports. I definitely highly recommend utilizing those, keeping them open while you complete your report, because they offer some very explicit and specific guidance on how to respond to some of these questions. Some things to keep in mind as you complete this report. Again, this is the final report of the grant year. The December monthly progress report is the final report of the grant year, and you must complete it regardless of when you finished up programming. So make sure to completely read each question, as well as completely read the guidance documents as you complete your report. Make sure to save your report often as you move through, especially if you have to step away for any reason to complete something else. That way you can come back to it and prevent any data loss. And finally, please make sure to complete this report in a timely manner, ideally well before the final due date in early January. And that way we can review them and potentially ask for any edits if possible within the deadline or the time frame. Alright, so as you can see from the start here, the very beginning looks exactly like a standard monthly report with some of the same questions. So this first one here asking, have you updated your youth data to reflect if any mentees have left or started new this month? So of course the question here for every single person should be yes, and that is because it is required that you have updated all of your youth data as this is the final report of the grant year. We need everyone to update, add all of their youth, connect them with the current grant, and then actually close them out as well. So all youth that have participated in your mentoring program should have their active status changed to inactive. Once they're inactive, you should select the choice between either did not complete the program or successfully completed the program, as well as the date that they did or did not complete. So it's also really important to keep in mind that a youth is considered to have successfully completed the program if they participated in at least 32 hours of mentoring over the course of the program year. Again, that's 32 hours over the course of the entire program year counts as successfully meeting the grant requirements. This next question here, of course, uploading your attendance report and updated implementation calendar. It is going to require you to upload those two attachments before it successfully allows you to submit your report. So please make sure that you're attaching those. If you finished up your programming back in November or earlier, please just attach those reports and those documents. That attendance report, your most recent attendance report when you were running programming and implementation plan, and then you are good to go. Next one, your curriculum that you used. Again, if you finished programming in November or earlier, just indicate the curriculum that you are using at that point in time. Next question, question 4. How many mentors were in your program this month, including those that started late in the month or left early? So if you completed programming in November and completed your November monthly progress reports prior to this, you can go ahead and enter 0 for this final report. If you've continued programming throughout December, you're just going to indicate how many mentors in December were in your program, including those that started late or left early. For number 5, of that number of question 4, how many mentors left the program this month? So you'll just indicate that. Again, if you ended programming way back in November, you can just enter 0 here. Number 6 of the question to number 4, how many mentors were new this month? Again, just answer that question. If you're running programming through December, if you finished up in November, you can enter 0. Number 7, how many mentors completed training this month? Just enter how many mentors, of course, went through the training at your organization during the month of December. If you completed programming, obviously that number is also going to be 0. Number 8, did all mentors completing training this month fill out the mentor training assessment survey? If no, please have your mentors complete it at the link attached there. So for most people that will be yes, because it is a requirement to train all your mentors to complete that survey. So for most folks that will be yes. Again, if you completed your programming back in November, you can indicate yes to that question. So number 9 here, what were your accomplishments within this reporting period? So if you've ended programming in December, you've run programming throughout the month of December, you can answer that as usual as you have in past reports. If you've completed programming already and finished up in November or before, you could just put NA for that response there. Did you encounter any problems or barriers within the reporting period that prevented you from reaching your goals or milestones? Again, if you've completed programming in December or run programming in December, answer that as usual. If you completed programming prior to December, you can indicate yes for that one. If you've indicated yes, please explain. Again, if you've completed programming already in November, you can just put NA for that question. If you've running programming throughout December, answer that as normal. Number 11, is there any assistance that the National PAL or First Pick can provide to address any problems or barriers identified in question number 10 above? If you've run programming in December, go ahead and answer that as you typically would. If you've finished up programming already in November or before then, you can simply answer no. And then the next question, 11A, just put NA if you finished prior to the start of December. If you've continued programming, go ahead and answer that as usual. Number 12, are you on track to fiscally and programmatically complete your program as outlined in your grant application? Kind of the same process here. I'm sure folks are catching on at this point. Are you? You can indicate, as you would if you're running programming through the month of December. If you finished up already, you can simply answer yes, and then put NA in 12A. What major activities you have planned for the next quarter? Regardless of when you are completing programming, this question should just be answered NA, as there is no next quarter, as we've reached the end of the grant year. Number 14, based on your knowledge of youth mentoring and after-school programming, are there any innovative program accomplishments that you would like to share with National PAL or First Pick? So go ahead and answer that as you would. Again, if you finished up in November, you can just put NA in that particular answer box. So moving on to the next set of questions, of course, you'll see these ones are a bit different than your regular monthly reporting questions. So going into these, starting with number 15, how many youth participated in more than 4 hours of mentoring per month on average over the past 6 months? So of course, for most folks, that means meeting and doing mentoring for 1 hour every week, or participating in mentoring for 2 hours every other week. If you are completing this report and you're running programming through December, that would be the past 6 months, so since July 1st. If you've completed programming in November, it would just be the past 5 months. So that's something to just keep in mind for that particular question there. So if your mentees had occasional absences, maybe they had one day that they were sick or a couple days that they were sick where they missed some of those sessions, you can still count them. This is really trying to measure if folks were pretty consistently participating in the program. So number 16 is kind of the other end of that same question. So how many youth participated in fewer than 4 hours of mentoring per month on average over the past 6 months? And again, if you've completed programming in November, it would be the past 5 months, so starting at July 1st of 2018. And again, this would be youth that missed some fairly consistently and came in with an average of far less than 4 hours of mentoring per month during that time frame. Number 17 here is how many youth exhibited an improved perception of social support. And right here you can see it. Please refer to the National PAL Youth Survey to quantify this answer. So this is a survey that you should have received via email from National PAL back on December 11th, 2018. And it's just a very short survey that you give to the youth that participated in your program, and it helps to quantify how many of them actually are exhibiting improved perception of social support. So then you'll indicate the number who did seem to exhibit that improved perception of social support here for number 17. For number 18A, how many youth had an arrest or delinquent offense during the reporting period? So that's July 1st to December 31st. If you've completed programming prior to December, you can, of course, just answer this question through the end of November, which of course applies to kind of the rest of these here that you see with this date range. 18B, how many youth were committed to a juvenile facility during the reporting period? 18C, how many youth were sentenced to adult prison during that reporting period? 18D, how many youth received a different sentence during this reporting period, so different than the ones that were listed above? 19A, overall, how many youth have been served during this reporting period? And it's really good to keep in mind that this includes being served really in any capacity during the reporting period. This includes those youth who may have entered your mentoring program but then left early. We still want you to include them in that number for 19A. For 19B, you can see of those that you answered in 19A, how many left the program prematurely. Alright, so moving on to the last set of questions here, starting with number 20. How many youth successfully completed at least 32 hours of mentoring over the course of the entire program? So starting way back in January 1st. This is going through December 31st if you've been running programming during December. If you completed programming back in November, you'd of course just answer up until that point. Number 21, how many youth were enrolled at the beginning of the reporting period, so July 1st? How many youth were added during the reporting period, so since July 1st all the way through December 31st for those folks that have continued with the program extension, or through November, the end of November, if you ended programming at that date. Number 23, how many youth participated in the program for at least 8 months? And number 24, kind of the opposite of that, or the other end of that, how many youth participated in the program for less than 8 months? And then number 25, how many mentors participated in your program during this reporting period? So again, that's mentors. All the mentors that participated in your mentoring program, this is regardless of if they left the program prematurely or not. So that should bring you to the end of the report. Again, definitely utilize the save button down here to save your progress as you go along. If you have to step away for any reason, to answer a phone call, do anything like that, definitely hit that save button so that your data stays there and you can return to it at a later time. And then once you have completed all of the questions, you've attached those required documents, everything like that, you will be able to submit right down here. At that point in time, it will be submitted to the system. If there are any issues with your report, we'll be able to review it, take a look, and you will be contacted. So you'll get an email with a write-up of some of the things that we have some questions on, or maybe some changes, some clarifications, things like that in the email. And they will also appear right down here in the reviewer notes section. If you have any questions about the report here or the reporting guide, please feel free to reach out to First Pick and we can help you out. If you have larger questions about your grant implementation, feel free to reach out to Angie Caffey at National PAL. And if you have any questions about accessing the site, need a password reset, anything like that, again, of course, reach out to First Pick and we will be able to help you out. All right, thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate your time today, and thank you for a great year with National PAL.